The Black Dahlia Murder, A Step into Darkness. Los Angeles, 1947, a city of shadows and secrets. Los Angeles sprawls below, a city bathed in neon promise yet haunted by the scars of a post-war boom. Behind its glittering facade, the streets are steeped in despair, rife with corruption, broken dreams, and whispered secrets. In this urban labyrinth, people vanish without a trace, and even the silence carries a hint of conspiracy. Past flickering streetlights and through darkened alleyways heavy with the mingled scents of cigarettes, stale perfume, and something far more sinister. A place where ambitions burned bright, but where nightmares were born in the shadows. And on the morning of January 15th, the city awoke to a horror that would etch itself into its soul. A crime so methodical, so artistically cruel, it whispered of secrets too dark to confess. The Discovery, a scene from hell. Vacant lot, early morning, January 15th, 1947. Betty Bersinger, a middle-aged housewife, ambles with her young daughter through a dew-kissed lot. The morning is eerily quiet until her steps falter. Ahead, amidst the withered grass, something unnervingly pale lies still. At first, Betty assumes it's a mannequin, a forgotten prop. But as she draws closer, her stomach clenches, her breath stutters. A woman's body, meticulously bisected at the waist. No splatter of blood mars the scene. The upper half, posed with a macabre carved smile reminiscent of a Glasgow grin, stares blankly into oblivion. The lower half, with its intestines carefully folded like a grotesque origami, speaks of precision, calculated cruelty. Betty's scream pierces the stillness as she snatches her daughter and flees into the awakening city. The crime scene, sadistic artistry. Moments later, squad cars converge like dark omens. Hardened officers step out, their faces set in grim resignation. Yet even among these men, some avert their eyes as if the sight were a personal affront to humanity. One detective, drained of color and haunted by unspoken truths, murmurs, "Shaken. No human could do this." The body lies again, surgically severed, its ligature marks speaking of restraint and prolonged torment. Not a single drop of blood stains the meticulously cleaned corpse. The killer's work is both clinical and cruel, a macabre blend of surgical skill and artistic expression. In his meticulous staging, he has not merely killed, he has transformed murder into a perverse performance. Officers exchange furtive glances. They know this was no crime of passion, it was a calculated, deliberate act, executed by someone whose twisted mind viewed violence as a canvas for his dark artistry. The victim, Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia. Before she became a headline, before she turned into a ghost, she was Elizabeth Short. A 22-year-old beauty with a heart full of Hollywood dreams, she journeyed from Massachusetts to Los Angeles, seduced by the silver screen. But in the city of angels, even the brightest dreams can burn out in an instant. Her life was a fragile balancing act, a string of transient beds, stolen moments in smoky bars, and whispered promises in the dark. They called her the Black Dahlia, a name as enigmatic and doomed as the noir films of the era. The last known moments, January 9th, 1947. Elizabeth was last seen stepping out of the Grand Biltmore Hotel. A brief encounter at the Crown Grill later cemented her as an enigma. For 6 long days, she slipped into the void of Los Angeles. And then, the body appeared, staging a silent testament to her tragic end. Questions haunt every corner. Where had she been? Who had held her captive in that final fateful stretch? Who orchestrated her unspeakable torment? The silence that followed was deafening, a void filled with the echoes of lost hope and unsaid accusations. The killer, a shadow in the dark. Deep in the city's underbelly, a figure watches the unfolding horror from a dim, smoke-laden room. His eyes, cold and calculating, scan the headlines. In the stark glare of the television, Elizabeth Short's face is magnified, a grotesque badge of honor for a mind twisted by obsession. He didn't merely kill, he wanted the world to see his handiwork, to feel the dread of his presence. In every meticulously arranged detail, he carved out a signature of terror. Days later, a taunting envelope arrives at the LAPD, a ransom note constructed from the very clippings of the newspapers that once celebrated her life. Inside lie personal artifacts, her social security card, birth certificate, cherished photographs, each item carefully cleansed of prints, each a mocking challenge to an investigation already mired in secrets. The theories, whispers of conspiracy and corruption. As the LAPD drags in suspects, murmurings grow. Dr. George Hodel, the sadistic surgeon, a brilliant yet twisted physician, rumored to have operated with the precision of a surgeon on the human body. His private mansion, filled with secret passages and dark corridors, whispers of forbidden rituals. His own son would later claim he heard his father murmur confessions in the dead of night. A corrupt LAPD cover-up? In hushed tones behind closed doors, some claim that evidence vanished, leads were inexplicably ignored, and high-ranking officers, entangled in vice and political scandal, protected one of their own. In a department already riddled with corruption and scandal, could the silence be orchestrated by those who fear exposure more than justice? A serial killer at work. As more lone, mutilated women emerge in the years that follow, the spectre of a serial killer looms. Each crime scene, each grotesque tableau, bears the unmistakable hallmarks of a killer who sees violence as both expression and performance. A madman whose every act is a statement, a challenge to the system. In the shadowy corridors of power and darkness, the city trembles. Women bolt their doors, whispering prayers into the night, as a killer with the soul of a mad artist slips once again into the crowd. The haunting legacy. Newspaper headlines, stacked cold case files haunted Hollywood streets. Elizabeth Short's ghost lives on, in whispered legends, in the books and films that never quite capture the full horror. She has become both warning and myth, a cautionary tale of dreams shattered by a darkness that no light can dispel. Hollywood immortalized her, yet her murder remains unsolved, a festering wound in the city's history, nourished by conspiracy, fear, and the twisted ingenuity of a killer who remains at large. The modern city pulses with life. Neon lights flicker over rain-soaked streets, echoing memories of past terrors. In an abandoned file room, in the hushed exchanges of aging detectives, in the quiet murmur of those who remember too well, the truth still lingers. Perhaps in an old case file, or in the hushed whispers between men who have seen too much, the secret remains. The killer's signature is etched into the soul of the city. And maybe, just maybe, some mysteries never die. Some ghosts never rest. And in the dark corners of Los Angeles, the Black Dahlia's killer remains, an ever-present shadow, a mad artist whose final masterpiece was a crime that still demands justice. If you have any information about the murder of Elizabeth Short, contact your local authorities. Thank you for joining us. That's the story for today. If you enjoyed this one, stay tuned. We have plenty more stories to share. Want to be the first to hear our next news stories? Then click the subscribe button and turn on notifications. See you soon.